Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, if you're learning English, I think you know this feeling. It's really, really frustrating. You can watch a movie, maybe read a pretty complex book, listen to people talking, and you get what, like 90% of it, pretty much effortlessly. Your
Yeah.
passive understanding, it's brilliant. But then the second someone asks you something, or you need to jump in, your brain just slams on the brakes, total silence.
Ah, yes. It's the classic problem for so many learners today, isn't it? You've got all this knowledge banked up,
Yeah.
but you just can't seem to get your mouth to work. We've been digging into, well, a lot of research and guides that focus specifically on this bottleneck, how to get past just understanding things passively and actually train yourself, your mind and your mouth to speak confidently, smoothly.
And that's exactly our mission for this deep dive. We've looked at all this material and we want to pull out the core reasons why we freeze up like that, both the brain stuff and the psychology. And really importantly, find the most practical techniques. We want to give you the tools like right now so you can start making that switch from being a great listener to, well, a confident speaker.
Okay, let's unpack this. What is the fundamental mismatch between comprehension and conversation?
Where do we start?
Well, if you boil it right down,
What?
the main issue is simply a lack of the right kind of training. Think about it. You've probably spent, I don't know, hundreds of hours training your ears and eyes,
Mm.
recognizing words, patterns, grammar, but the actual parts you use for speaking, your mouth, your tongue, those throat muscles, they've basically been, well, left on the bench, dormant.
Yeah, I loved the analogy one of the sources used for this. It called the mouth a lazy instrument. Like a pianist who can listen to some incredibly complex piece of music. They hear every note, every chord change instantly. But if they've never actually, sat down and practiced playing it, the moment you ask them to perform, they just freeze.
Yeah.
They get it intellectually, but the physical skill, zero.
Exactly right. Speaking is a physical skill. It's not just in your head. It takes muscle memory. It takes repetition, coordinating your breath, the rhythm, the flow,
Yeah.
everything. So if you only ever practice listening, guess what? You only get good at listening.
Okay, but that physical side, that's just layer one, isn't it? Because the moment we talk about speaking, this huge psychological thing comes up, anxiety, fear of judgment. That's massive. That worry about making a mistake or just sounding silly, it can be totally paralyzing.
Oh, absolutely. It's the number one thing holding people back. And, this brings up a really important question. How do we actually change that mindset? Because that fear feels so real, visceral even. The research, thankfully, offers a really encouraging way to reframe it. We need to stop thinking of mistakes as, like, failures or
Phew.
proof we're not good enough.
But how? How do you do that? Because, okay, intellectually we can say mistakes are fine, but in the moment, emotionally, they feel awful.
The key is to start seeing them differently. See them as data points, evidence. Making a mistake is actually solid proof that you're doing something. You're being active. It shows you're pushing yourself, you're testing the edges of what you know, you're practicing the skill itself. Every single mistake means you're actively trying. You can't learn piano without hitting some wrong notes out loud, right?
Okay, that makes sense. See it as proof of effort, not failure. So if the aim is shifting from passive intake, just listening and reading, to active production,
Yeah.
actually speaking, what's the very first, essential step? How do we force that lazy instrument, the mouth, to start working?
Well, you have to commit to it. You have to embrace what the sources call the mandate for production. Basically, stop just consuming, start creating. And the single most powerful technique we found for bridging that gap, it's called shadowing.
Shadowing, okay. It sounds simple enough, maybe. But the way it's described, it seems much more intense than just, repeating words after a teacher. Can you break down what it actually involves?
Sure. Shadowing means you listen to a native speaker, maybe on a podcast, YouTube video, whatever works for you, Beat City,
Yeah.
and you speak the words at the exact same time. You're only lagging like a tiny fraction of a second behind them. You're not waiting for them to finish a sentence and then repeating back. No.
Yeah.
You're mimicking everything almost instantly. Pronunciation, yeah, but also their rhythm, their intonation, the ups and downs, even the emotion, like a shadow. Basically, that's where the name comes from.
Right, so you're really trying to be like a human echo for, say, 10 minutes straight. Wow, that sounds exhausting, actually. But I can see how it would be incredibly effective for training that lazy instrument, as you called it.
It really is. It forces your mouth and brain to work together to handle the natural flow and stress patterns of English. Crucially, it doesn't give your brain time to do that slow translation thing. You know that loop? Hear English. Translate to native language.
Yeah.
Think of reply in native language. Translate reply back into English. Shadowing helps bypass that whole slow, clunky process.
Okay, that's a huge benefit. But what about time? People are busy. If this needs like an hour a day, well, most people just won't do it.
Yeah, that's always the question. But the practical tip here is actually pretty manageable. Just 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes of focused shadowing. Apparently, that can make a huge, really noticeable difference in your fluency and rhythm within just a few weeks. Consistency, though, that's the real magic here, doing it every day.
But hold on, even 10 minutes, isn't that still kind of high pressure? What if someone is just absolutely terrified of making those sounds out loud, worried someone might hear them?
That's a fair point.
Mm.
And that's where another simple, really low-pressure method comes in handy. English self-talk. This is basically just narrating your own life
Mm.
out loud to yourself while you're doing boring everyday things.
So, like, while you're washing the dishes or walking the dog, instead of just thinking about it, you actually say what you're doing in English.
Exactly. Okay, I'm pouring the milk now. The water's getting hot, right? Must remember to buy coffee tomorrow, things like that. It just keeps those English-speaking muscles active. It keeps your brain sort of switched into production mode, and there's zero pressure, no judgment from anyone. It just makes sure English stays an active tool in your head, not just something you passively understand.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. How does this practical training, the shadowing, the self-talk, feed into the toughest challenge? Confidence. Real confidence in an actual conversation.
Yeah, confidence. It's almost never this one big breakthrough moment, is it? It's more like building a wall brick by brick. You get it through small, undeniable wins. You need to stack up those successes, starting with really low stakes interactions, situations where you prove to yourself, hey, my English actually works.
What counts as low stakes here? What kind of things are we talking about?
Oh, simple stuff
Yeah.
like ordering food in English, asking someone for basic directions, or something that's becoming really popular now, just chatting with an AI language partner online. The goal is just to successfully get a simple message across and get the right response back. When the barista understands you and hands you the right coffee, your brain gets a little ping. See, my English worked. I did it. Small win.
Right. Another technique that kept popping up, and I know people are going to groan when they hear this, is recording yourself speaking. We all hate hearing our own voices played back, don't we? It's like a universal human cringe factor.
Oh, I agree. It can be slightly painful, definitely.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's one of the fastest ways to improve your self-correction skills. Just record yourself for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Read a short paragraph aloud, describe your day, whatever. It's like going to the gym. But for your critical listening skills applied to yourself, you're forced to hear your own progress, notice where your rhythm maybe falters a bit, and you start fixing your own mistakes.
Ah, so it shifts the feedback loop. Instead of needing someone else to tell you what's wrong, you become your own coach, your own editor.
Precisely. And doing that, hearing yourself improve even slightly, directly helps tackle maybe the biggest psychological trap of all, that endless chase for perfect English.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because so many learners feel like if they don't sound like a BBC newsreader, they're somehow failing.
Yes, it's such a common trap. But the core insight here, the really freeing idea is this. Fluency means communication. It doesn't mean grammatical perfection. If you can get your ideas across, your feelings, your stories,
Yeah.
and people understand you, you are fluent. That's it. The main goal should always, always be connection, not flawlessness.
Yeah, and if you think about it, even native speakers, we make grammar mistakes all the time. We use slang, shorten words, interrupt ourselves. The material really encourages learners to just prioritize getting the message out there.
Absolutely. Stop obsessing about, did I use the perfect tense? Where should that comma go?
Yeah.
If the other person gets the feeling, the idea, the information you're trying to share, you've succeeded. You've connected.
Yeah.
Grammar. That can always be polished later. You've got to prioritize making that connection now.
Okay, so let's try and bring all these actions together, like a clear, practical daily toolkit. The research we looked at basically boils it down to a 5-step plan for a daily routine, something designed to really force that shift from passive to active.
Yeah, we've touched on most of them, but let's lay them out clearly. It's all about consistency. 1, that shadowing practice, 10 minutes daily, train the mouth, train the rhythm. 2, self-talk. Just narrate your actions, your thoughts. Keep the muscles working. 3, short recordings, just a minute or two. Listen back, notice things, track your progress. 4, mini conversations, even just 5 minutes. Online partner, AI, whatever. Stack those small wins. And 5, thinking in English.
Ah, that last one. Thinking in English. That feels like the Mount Everest of language learning, doesn't it? Our brains just seem hardwired to translate everything first, and that translation step is so slow, it drains all your mental energy.
It is hard at first, no doubt, and it's often what causes that freeze mid-conversation, right? Your brain's juggling too many steps. The trick is to start small, like almost ridiculously small. Don't even try sentences at first. Just look around you and name objects. In English, that's it. Chair, window, coffee cup, blue pen.
So you're forcing your brain to link the object directly to the English word, cutting out the middleman, the native language step.
Exactly. Over time, your mind starts to make that switch more automatically. You stop seeing an object, thinking the word in your mother tongue, and then translating that thought into English. You just see a tree, and that frees up a huge amount of brain power, making spontaneous speech much more possible.
And connecting back to that idea of fluency being about flow, the guides really emphasize that English is like music.
It really is. The rhythm, the stress patterns, the intonation, the melody of the language, that often matters much more for clear communication than getting every single sound perfectly precise. Native speakers tend to focus on how words flow together, how they connect, and sometimes reduce. So learners should try to imitate that smoothness, that connection between words, rather than, say, agonizing over pronouncing every single syllable perfectly, which can actually make you sound kind of choppy and unnatural.
Right. Which brings us neatly to the final, maybe most crucial point from all this research, the persistence principle.
Yes. This is really the bottom line. It's the metric that truly separates the learners who break through from those who stay stuck. The students who really succeed, they're not always the ones with the perfect grammar or the biggest vocabulary. They're the ones who just keep talking, day after day, regardless of how many mistakes they feel they're making. They just keep going.
So the action itself, just doing it, that's what builds the confidence.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And the really concrete takeaway here is quite powerful. Even just 5 minutes of active speaking practice every day. That's way, way better than spending 2 hours silently studying grammar rules. You have to actually use the instrument if you ever want to learn how to play it.
So what does this all mean? Okay, the path from understanding English passively to speaking it actively, confidently. It's not some big mystery. It's basically a training program. For your mouth, yes, but also for your mindset. Taking action builds the confidence. And just sticking with it, persistence. That's the ultimate key.
Yeah, to sum it all up, the final sort of mandate is speak every single day. Even if it's just to yourself in the mirror. See mistakes as your teachers, not as failures. Don't be afraid of them. Imitate the rhythm and flow you hear around you. Stop trying to translate every single word in your head. And, really importantly, notice and celebrate every small win, every successful interaction, no matter how tiny.
Look, you already understand so much English. That's a huge achievement right there. You've mastered the passive stage. The challenge we're accepting today is just about activating that knowledge, turning it on, the magic moment. That'll be when you suddenly realize you've been talking confidently for, say, 10 minutes and your brain didn't even notice the time passing. So thinking about today, what small, low-stakes win can you set yourself up for? Maybe it is just ordering that coffee in English. Maybe it's describing your next few tasks in your head. What can you do right now to prove to yourself that your speaking muscles are finally starting to cooperate?